Tuesday morning. It's McCollum on Business. I'm Stephen McCollum, and for the next 30 minutes or so, I'm going to get you updated on what's happening around the business world here on this Tuesday. President's over in Turkey, I believe, is where he's at, dealing with some Middle East things over there, actually NATO stuff. And that's happening there. So, not a lot of local stories, at least national stories around the stories. Oil prices are moving up a little bit. Some rumors out there of some ships being attacked there in the Strait of Hormuz. Oil ticking up slightly here this morning. That's basically the major international stories that'll affect the markets out there. And with that being said, let's get into that market watch. And right now, Dow building on that 53,000 point that it hit and stuck at today. Yesterday, it hit that number slightly and then promptly went back down. Well, today, Dow Jones, it's still down 42 points here today, 43 points, but it's still above that record of 53,000 it hit yesterday. 53,055 for Dow Jones. Excuse me, right now. Too many folks on my throat. I apologize for that. S&P 500 is down 34 points right now to 75.11. And a chip sell-off is happening today. Nasdaq's down 273 points. 25,856 is where that is at. And then the Russell 2K down 28 points here early this morning. 2988 for the Russell 2K, the small cap index. And chip stocks, basically, investors are rotating their stocks. So they're selling out of the chip stocks, putting the money, no, it doesn't look like it right now, but putting their money into other sectors out there. Bitcoin, well, it's up above 63,000 today, 63,048 for Bitcoin, 949 points down for it, but it's found a home here at 63,000 as opposed to being down in the low 60,000 as well over all of last week. And then this week, over the weekend, hit 63,000. Went backwards a little bit yesterday, came back up, and it's 63,000 here today for Bitcoin. And people are just putting their money in other things like SpaceX stock, for instance, and everything. All the just on a side note, we're not going to share you this stock here, but there's a bunch of analyst calls here today on SpaceX. It just means analysts get on, talk about how they see it performing and things to that effect. And a lot of people are bullish on the SpaceX stock. I've seen a lot of reporting this morning that some investment firms are saying it's going to go up as high as $800 over the next year. So a lot of bullish response here from the investment company on SpaceX out there. Stocks that we do have graphs for and we're paying attention to today. First one, Fiserv is what we're going to look at. It's a fintech stock. 5.06% up here right now. It was up higher today. Has come back down a little bit with this sell-off that's happening right now. Well, the Wall Street Journal came out citing sources that Fiserv has talked with major U.S. banks. So we're talking J.P. Morgan, Bank of America, Wells Fargo. Fiserv is going to sell its payment structure, at least talking to them about its payment structure. Business, basically what they do, right? So basically handles debit card transactions. That's what Fiserv does. Talking to the banks, you get in with those banks, you're going to get millions and millions of transactions. It's obviously good for your stock. That's why Fiserv's up now 4.83%. Like I said, just an overall general market sell-off today, bringing that stock down. And then Rivian, which does have, of course, that plant down there in Casa Grande. We're going to look at Rivian Automotive, and it's down 12.02% here today. Well, why? Well, they issued revenue and delivery guidance that did top the consensus forecast. But the big problem here, they're diluting stock price for people already invested in this company. Rivian said it was going to sell 75 million new shares in a big capital raise to get money. Market does not like that. Rivian's down 12.02% here today based off of that news, even though their guidance is right in line to what you'd expect out there. Then we got another local company, a big presence here, First Solar. Well, we haven't looked at them in a while, down 0.18% right now. Kind of been up and down here today, as you see on the graph on your screen, if you're able to watch us and not just listening. But Deutsche Bank out there, well, it upgraded the stock to buy. It was a neutral before, which is interesting because of all the policy here in the United States, right? Moving away from solar and green energy. Well, that bank specifically cited three reasons investors should buy this dip that's happening of the shares. The big one that they talked about was a potential trade policy shift coming up for green energy out there. And that obviously would be huge news. Uh, Deutsche Bank is expecting a policy change, it sounds like, because they're saying buy this stock at this dip. 0.42% down for First Solar today. And like I said, a lot of these stocks have changed in the last 20 minutes or so as the sell off has begun to happen here on the market. With For whatever reason, the sell-offs that's happening right now affecting a lot of the stocks that we're looking at here today. And as I said, president's over in Turkey, NATO stuff he's working with over there, and which doesn't leave us a lot of those international stories. Oil prices, as I said, ticking up just a hair here today, with some rumors of some ships being attacked over there in the Strait of Hormuz. Just rumors as of right now out there, and all of that's happening, and we'll focus more on national stories and companies out there. First one we're going to look at is Meta. They did a court filing yesterday which showed that four states, folks, they're seeking a 1.4 trillion dollars worth of penalties onto Meta. And this is all over those claims that they designed Facebook and Instagram to be addictive to children, and then they withhold information from the public about the harms that these apps do pose to young users. Meta released this in a court filing yesterday. And remember, they got these private lawsuits against these companies. They've lost a couple of them now as well, one in California, and I think the other one was in Texas, if I remember correctly. But you're seeing these cases out there. But now we're talking about states suing these companies. Now, this case that we're specifically talking about, the four states are California, Colorado, Kentucky, and New Jersey. Meta disclosed this $1 trillion figure in its response to the Attorney General's filings on how penalties actually should be calculated if the states win at the trial set to begin next month up in Oakland, California. The company said the number, which by the way, that 1.4 trillion for those four states, it's near what their market capitalization is for Meta. About 1.5 trillion. They're asking for the value of the company here. Of course, Meta says none of this lawsuit stuff and the penalties, are supported by the evidence out there. A Meta spokesperson did get out there, and I saw they told Fox Business in a statement. They said, "quote The plaintiff's outlandish calculations have no basis in fact or law. We'll continue to defend ourselves against headline-seeking demands that are untethered from reality." Now, these filings from the states are sealed. The only reason we know about it is Meta's response to it. But the states' filings and the states themselves have said during a hearing last month that they were calculating the penalties because they were multiplying the number of violations by fine amounts established by state laws. That number of violations is based on the estimated number of young users impacted by Meta's social media platforms. That's where they get that 1.4 trillion for those four states. Nearly 30 states have sued Meta in federal court, most of them claiming the company violated the federal Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. What Meta did was, according to the states, they collected data from children without proper parental consent. Now, this specific trial of the four states that starts next week or next couple weeks, that trial will address all claims brought under that law, as well as the four states' allegations that Meta violated the state laws aimed at protecting consumers. Well, how they do that? Well, they say they misled the public about the safety of their platforms. Of course, Meta, no shocker, denied the allegations. They said the attorneys general actually lack evidence that it misled the public about its platforms. They even alleged addictiveness, since social media addiction is not an established psychiatric condition. So they're saying this can't find us for something that can't be defined or hasn't been defined. Meta has also pushed back on accusations that have violated that Children's Online Privacy Protection Act. Well, Meta says it marketed Facebook and Instagram to a wider audience, and not just the children under 13. So just because they went wide and children got snaggled in it They're saying they follow the rules of that act, I should say. Now, they're not the only four, right? The four states this trial gets underway shortly, but there's another 14 states that have brought claims under their own laws. That'll be heard later on. A separate trial next year is where that will come up. So Meta continuing to fight it. They fought against individual people suing them, and they've lost a couple of those. Now they also have the other side of it, and there's thousands of those trials happening or about to start. And now, of course, they're fighting the states out there with the addictiveness of their platform out there. And then, we've heard for a long time of manufacturing, right? Well, more manufacturing in America, more manufacturing in America. Come back home, manufacturers. Well, Toyota yesterday announced that they're going to invest $3.6 billion. They're going to move production of the Tacoma mid-size pickup truck from a plant in Mexico up there to Texas, San Antonio, Texas, to be exact. And that manufacturing campus that already exists, they do full-size Tacoma pickups there in San Antonio, and a hybrid version of it already in San Antonio. This investment of $3.6 billion, well, about 2,000 U.S. jobs will be created at the facility. It's going to add a second vehicle assembly line, and it'll double the size of the plant already, which is already 2.7 million square feet. We're going to double that. All that by 2030. It will expand the plant's annual capacity from about 200,000 units to go up to 350,000 units, according to Toyota. Now, this announcement is part of Toyota's stated plans to invest up to $10 billion more than previously expected here in the U.S. through 2030. Now, there's a tie with this, but it comes less than a week after the Trump administration did confirm it's not going to extend its, the trade compact there with Canada and Mexico. He's going to go to individual deals with the two nations as well, and everything, and annual reviews and 10-year deals, etc. There a correlation with that announcement? A Toyota spokesperson did say the company is maintaining its operations in Mexico. Tacoma production transfers is going to happen from Tijuana to San Antonio. Is how that's going to happen over the next 4 years. But Toyota did decline to share how they're going to continue that plant open and what's going to keep being built down in Mexico. Now, Toyota does plan to continue to produce the Tacoma pickups at another Mexican plant that they have down there in Guanajuato. Guanajuato. I know. Sorry, butcher that name of that province there as well. So they're keeping that plant, closing the Tijuana one, moving Tacoma's up here, and then still happening down there as well. So interesting moves here, but a big move here into San Antonio, expansion into San Antonio there for Toyota. And, we already talked about Meta and their lawsuit concerns, and we know Meta, Microsoft, big investments into AI as well. And interesting enough, Microsoft did come out yesterday, said they're going to eliminate about 4,800 jobs. That's about 2.1% of its global workforce. What it's doing is, well, it's restructuring parts of the company, well, to prioritize artificial intelligence investments, but also other long term business goals that they have. AI is causing the amount of money needed for AI is causing other divisions to be moved around, job losses. Even if it's not directly to AI has a big effect in this. The reductions will primarily affect Microsoft's commercial and Xbox organizations, though additional changes are planned across engineering teams. Well, the company Microsoft is reshaping its operations to better serve customers and accelerate AI adoption. Now, Microsoft has historically announced organizational changes near the close of its fiscal year because it's setting the spending plans ahead for the year ahead. In a separate message to Xbox employees, Xbox head of their company described the move as, quote, the most significant restructure in Xbox history. He said there that the gaming division, the Xbox division, plans to eliminate about 3,200 positions during fiscal 2027. That's about 1,600 roles effective just yesterday on Monday as well. So the Xbox division said 4 game studios will transition to new ownership or management as part of the restructuring. And it also said following years of heavy investment in content, Game Pass and platform expansion, well, that did not grow as quickly as the company is expected, and that's kind of what's led to these layoffs as of now. It's just not enough growth on that side, and big layoffs there. Specifically, the Xbox side is getting hit a ton moving forward. And remember, they own some of those big gaming studios now. Those are being either spun off or new management's taking that over as well. Now, in a message, because we talked about AI, right, and how it's they want to spend more money on AI. Chief People Officer for Microsoft, which cracks me up. They have these positions. Her name's Amy Coleman. She stated, "quote I also want to be direct that the roles eliminated today are not being replaced by AI, but at the same time, what is true is that AI is changing how work gets done." Yeah, that was her statement. Yeah, it might not. The Xbox jobs aren't being replaced by AI, but they're losing their jobs because AI is so expensive and they need capital to grow their AI needs out there. And that's so they are being affected by AI, but not being replaced by it. If you want to split those hairs out there, I guess you can from the Microsoft side of things. And hey, if you're somebody that does mail stuff still, and you mail a lot of things, or you need booklets of stamps still, well, the U.S. Postal Service is giving you a warning. Buy now, buy in the next few days. Well, because the forever stamps pricing is getting raised again. Yeah. So if you need to do that, buy some books ahead of time, folks. July 12th is the date. The price of first class forever stamp is going up 4 cents. It's 78 cents now for those of you that haven't mailed anything in a while. It's 78 cents now. It's going up to 82 cents. And that has been approved by the Postal Regulatory Commission. So that means a book of 20 stamps is currently sitting at about $15.60. But come July 12th, that rate increases to $16.40. This increase is part of that broader 4.8% hike across mailing services that raises domestic postcard prices from 61 to 65 cents. International letter rates are $1.70 now, going up to $1.75. The forever stamp's not the only one going up out there. As I said, a letter, 78 cents to 82 cents here, July 12th. A metered letter is going from 74 to 78 cents. Domestic postcards, as I just told you, 61 to 65 cents. International postcards, $1.70 to $1.75. Then international letter, $1.70 to $1.75 as well there. So not huge increases. I get it. They do a lot of these increases out there. And you can only do price increases enough to where people aren't mailing stuff. They're not going to start if you keep raising prices to cover your expense side of things that they have out there. So I wanted to give you a heads up here on this Tuesday morning of that coming up and happening for you out there. And it's not all bad news out there with price increases. One of the largest retailers, or the largest retailer out there, Walmart, they're lowering prices on thousands of products. And a lot of it's already gone into effect, to be honest with you. Beef, Coca Cola, laundry detergent. Yeah, these cuts are aimed at reducing the cost of the seasonal summer items out there. The Walmart's kind of getting into some price cuts, which means other people will follow as well. Now, Walmart said yesterday that the price cuts will be available in its stores and on Sam's Club locations. That includes all their websites and everything. These reductions apply to groceries and other household items, grills, sunscreen, lawnmowers included in this. The price reductions went into effect last week, and you started to see them last week if you were paying attention and you shop at Walmart. The announcement represents a continuation of Walmart's existing strategy of emphasizing low prices and affordability. And they put out there, Walmart did. So Walmart getting on the side of those price cuts, getting ahead of that. And once Walmart does something, you'll see the competitors start to do it. They almost have to in order to compete, right? From that perspective. And, it's going to be, let's see these price decrease wars start to happen. With, of course, inflation is going to start coming out, energy pricing dropping, which is going to drop inflation, which is going to drop pricing on items if the companies want to do it. That's the key here. Walmart getting on board first to start that trend out there. And hey, when we come back here at McCollum on Business Tuesday edition, we keep rolling. We got three local stories for you. And then Starbucks, well, some new flavored drinks for you Starbucks lovers out there. And if you're not a Starbucks fan, maybe you will be with new flavors. That, of course, is always the hope of bringing out new flavors out there. When we come back, we'll get rolling into it. Come on back. It's all on business. And we're back here, McCollum on Business Tuesday edition. And before we get into the normal show stuff, don't forget if you're in the Phoenix area, or I know the Eastern and Midwest seaboard here, Eastern seaboard got hit with huge heat warnings over the weekend and large hitting record numbers for them. And well, we're back into that here in Phoenix. So if you're in the Phoenix area or in an area getting hit here, extreme heat warning goes into effect today. Getting back up into that 112, 115 range here. So stay cool out there. Stay inside. No hiking. No walking around your neighborhood during the daylight hours. That sun's trying to kill you, folks, and everything. So just keep that in mind here moving forward. And hopefully, you in the East, I know those of you in Chicago and Illinois that watch us and Virginia that watch us out there. Yeah, we appreciate it very much. But just you guys survived the weekend, and I know how treacherous it can be for you back there. Same thing here. We're a little bit more prepared for it and used to it, but still stay warm out here as well. Hopefully, you guys back there are kind of settling back down into those lower temperatures out there. You just saw all the commercials for our shows. As soon as we're done here, we roll into the main event. This show, McCollum on Business, the main event, both live on YouTube, TME Media AZ. Catch us at 7 a.m. here for this show, 8 to 10 a.m. for the main event there on YouTube as well. Join us live if you can. If you can't, everything's on demand on YouTube, TME Media AZ. Follow, of course, TME Media AZ on the Twitter as well on X. That's just our parent company. Kind of tells you what we do around here. We don't spam a lot onto that site. We just tell you what we do around here, show updates and things. Which tomorrow we're going to announce some changes here this week, and for a little extension of a show that we're taking Fridays off right now. Well, we're going to do a little bit of a show coming up this Friday. We'll talk more about that tomorrow as well. Of course, if you catch any of our shows and it's not live, like the pit stop, for instance, it comes out on Wednesdays normally. Well, today we're going to do the pit stop and get that out for you for the week. Get ahead of the racing weekend coming up and look back at last weekend. That'll be on demand today by 2 o'clock. Then, of course, we got the Real Matrix coming back on Friday for you. Now, the Real Matrix is not part of the YouTube channel. YouTube doesn't like programming like that too much. Well, it's over on Rumble. Rumble.com/user/TME Media is where you can find that program. And all of our shows are on demand as Rumble as well. We take advantage of being on that site for the Real Matrix. Put all of our programming up there because I did hear from some of you saying you don't like YouTube, you won't use YouTube. That's okay. Rumble's got you covered there. All of the programming except for this show do have free podcasting systems as well as social media sites out there. So join us on the social media sites. Just search the show names that comes up. Or same thing on your free podcasting system if you'd rather listen to us. All of them are there as well, except for this program here. But new episode, Real Matrix, coming out this Friday at noon again. Coming up after taking last week off. And folks, with all that being said, let's get into the Market Watch. Let's see if the Dow is still above 53,000, just barely here today. 53,008 is what it's at. Overall, it's 97 points down here today as the sell-off is happening. The sell-off's getting worse as the day's going on. Chip stocks are falling. Investors are rotating bets out there. The S&P 500 is down 52 points to 74.92. The Nasdaq's down 370 points to 25,750 for the Nasdaq. The Russell 2K, well, it's down 33 points to 2982 for the Russell 2K. And then there's Bitcoin. 928 points down, 63,080 is kind of went back up to 63,000 yesterday after hovering closer to 60 and kind of finding that home at 63,000. Stocks we're paying attention to right now, two pharmaceutical companies. One's called Vertex Pharmaceuticals. That's our first stock we're going to look at here. 2.08% down right now for them. Well, why? Because they're going to buy a company called Crinetics Pharmaceuticals. It's a $10 billion deal. And Crinetics Pharmaceuticals is a treatment for rare hormonal diseases, is what they do. And they're up 98.75% based off of the news they're being bought for $10 billion. All this was announced yesterday. So Vertex down a little bit. Crinetics way up 98.75% as they are being purchased for $10 billion. Then we're going to look at Intel here. I told you chip stocks were down today. Sell-offs happening on that side. I'm just picking Intel. I can tell you all the big ones. Lam is down a big. Let me look at. I'll tell you what. While Intel's on your screen and way down, I'll tell you about a couple other ones out there. Lam Research is down. Micron's down about 5% as well. Samsung down today as well. Samsung actually reported mixed quarterly results, although their profit was through the roof. Otherwise than that, mixed results, which is causing the chip stocks here to have to sell off today. So Intel, with the big local presence, down 9.44% here today as well on the market. So chip stocks are having a sell-off again today, which seems to be a common theme with chip stocks. You know, yesterday up, today down. Tomorrow up, yes, the next day down. It seems to be the trend happening around these chip stocks and everything. So get into a couple local stories for you. You know, the U.S. men's soccer team did lose yesterday to Belgium. And interesting enough, right, it was a lopsided defeat for them. Just went up against a better team out there. And I think a lot of people, you know, a lot of the hype, I saw this, and I was telling you on the main event, don't buy into that the U.S. has a chance to win this thing. They did not ever have a chance. They're about a top 16, top 15 team in the world. That's why they make it to the top 16 before getting eliminated. Well, if you've been anywhere lately during the World Cup, not just when the US plays, but when other teams, it's very, very packed wherever you go to watch these events. I know it was in Southern California. I know it is here as well because we were over there on the weekend. But, you know, with the US being out, what does that mean here, right? Fox 10 gives us this story, and you know, they say, um, you know, what to expect for eateries, bars, etc. They're going to see a fall off in traffic and everything. And no, yeah, obviously everybody's disappointed with the loss yesterday, but the World Cup, no, it's going to continue to go on here as we're down to the final eight and 2 more weeks roughly. And now there's going to start being off days because we're getting down teams, but about 2 more weeks of the World Cup. Fan bases are still here. Fan bases are staying of teams eliminated and everything. And they're expecting the sales here locally and nationwide, actually, to continue to be a place where people flock to for World Cup games. So, restaurants, bars here in town, all over the country, but especially here in town, they're expecting those big crowds to continue. So, just a heads up if you don't like big crowds when you go out, avoid restaurants and bars that are showing the games and everything because they're not expecting those crowds because The World Cup, I can tell you this, like when we were over in San Diego for the vacation, everywhere we went, the games were on, and it was just a festive atmosphere in those places while the games were on. Like the second the games ended, it went back to being a regular place. So people want that excitement while they continue to watch the World Cup. So just heads up, they're expecting those crowds, which is great for business. Absolutely great for business as well. The Arizona Supreme Court came out and there's an incident in 2019 where a passenger in a vehicle suffered injuries, and they had higher healthcare costs than what their auto policy with State Farm would actually cover. What a shocker. State Farm in the news with their insurance again. It's just a terrible, terrible company to deal with anymore. They only care about their profits, not what they insure out there. Now, the passenger in that 2019 accident tried stacking underinsured policies purchased by his parents, which means he tried to utilize several insurance policy claims. State Farm, of course, because that's what they do, they deny you repeatedly and they say, sue us. What are you going to do? I know I have personal experience with State Farm on this. And State Farm said their rules prohibited stacking multiple policies in one household. So underinsured, if you don't know, and underinsured policies help victims cover costs when they are hit by an at-fault driver, who of course their insurance doesn't cover the costs in a collision. So now um, what am I thinking? Supreme Court. Geesh, sorry about that, folks. Arizona Supreme Court ruled yesterday. State Farm's rules do comply with Arizona laws, so insurance companies can block customers from stacking policies for one collision. Well, we need to change that law, Arizona. Yeah, we should be able to get insured by our insurance companies because we all pay lots of money to them and don't do a ton of claims. They're making a ton of money off us, but just heads up, Arizona, ish, Supreme Court. I don't know why I keep forgetting Supreme Court today. Did rule in favor of those insurance companies out there and say they're following Arizona law. Some good news out there for people. Insurance, pay, 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 do a claim, and they tell you no, right? Well, some good news for you out there. Gas prices are dropping here in Arizona, and AAA's latest numbers, well, we all know crude oil prices are falling. They're ticking up a little today, but a little uptick isn't gonna matter at all. But gas prices and with the oil prices falling to the lowest levels since pre-war time frame, the average price per gallon in June for Arizona was over $4.60. I'm sorry, this is the average price nationally. I apologize. The average cost is now just under $4 as well for you out there. And so gas prices are dropping immensely out there. The cheapest gas, if you're in Arizona or you're traveling, just be aware of this. If you're going to certain counties, Pima County is the cheapest gas here as well in Arizona. The most expensive, Coconino County up north. So if you're headed that way, fill up in Arizona, fill up down here before you head up to Coconino County as well. So, however, gas prices are still the highest they've been in 4 years, even though they are dropping. So they're not dropping as fast as the oil pricing is dropping out there, of course, as well. So little bit of relief for you in terms of gas and filling up your pump, your car at least. It's fantastic news. As I said, I think we filled up at 569 over in California as well. So, God, we don't have to do that every day, right? And then let's get into it here with our final story. What a shocker. It always ends around food or drinks or something to that effect. And Starbucks unveiled its coming lineup of citrus infused beverage to complement, well, the sunny days here and the hot days here of summer as we are slowly trekking through that. So, these are highly anticipated drinks here for Starbucks. They're having the return of its unicorn frappuccino, which was a viral drink when it first was released. But they're also releasing one called Pink Barista Cold Glass Cups for you Starbucks lovers out there. They're going to have a limited edition merchandise collaboration as well with Southern California based outerwear brand Dandy Worldwide. Now, I'm old. I don't know who Dandy Worldwide is. Maybe you do, but they're doing a merch collection with them. So here we go. They're going to debut 5 new summer drinks on July 28th. Starbucks. all which build upon a nostalgic orange and vanilla flavor profile, is what Starbucks says they're going to do. So, orange cream cold brew. You want to add a little citrusy pep to your daily cold brew. Starbucks has this orange cream cold brew. Bright and creamy citrus layer, what it comes with, according to their press release out there. They're going to have an iced orange cream latte. Yeah. So, blonde espresso, add a dash of milk and pair it with orange vanilla flavors. Is how you get the iced orange cream latte as well. Of course, pour the whole thing over ice to get that effect as well. Iced orange cream matcha. So they have a big matcha line already, huge hype with the matcha. It's now coming out with that ice cream orange matcha. This will combine matcha, milk, and ice, layered with creamy citrus notes for a refreshing answer to summer's hottest days. You can get the iced orange cream chai. It adds a bright orange twist to Starbucks classic spiced chai and milk blend. So you get a little citrusly blend to your drinks, it sounds like. Orange cream frappuccino. For you orange cream fans and frappuccino fans out there. Now, this is a blended frappuccino, the one you're all familiar with if you like these. And it's getting this summertime remix. It's sweet orange and vanilla flavors with milk and ice. So it's then poured over a layer of whipped cream and topped with another layer of whipped cream as well. Hey, I found a drink within my whipped cream out there. Yeah, yeah, folks. So there you go. Your new drinks from Starbucks, July 28th, coming your way for you lovers out there. And then, of course, you can go and get the Starbucks Dandy Worldwide collab for merch as well. Yeah, whatever that is. It's I see inspired by the Southern California brand's road trip hoodie and captures the carefree spirit of summer. You don't need a hoodie in summer. It's hot out. They also are doing reusable mugs, thermos options, a hat, if you're into a Starbucks merchandise branded hat. But new drinks coming out July 28th for you folks from Starbucks as well. Appreciate you joining me here, of course, on this Tuesday edition of McCollum on Business. And you hear my computer won't load up all of a sudden. But I appreciate you joining us here. Of course, we roll into the main event coming up here live 8 to 10 here on YouTube. Come and join us, would you? Of course, subscribe to the channel, subscribe to the podcast if that's how you listen to us. We greatly appreciate it. Don't forget Pit Stop up later today as well for the week. And then Real Matrix on Friday. We'll tell you a little bit more about our schedule this week as well coming up for some shows. A little bonus show coming your way on the main event coming up on a Friday. Maybe we'll throw a bonus Call My Business show in as well. We'll talk about that tomorrow, folks. I'll keep you suspended for that. Come and join us at the main event, would you? Otherwise, all of our stuff's on demand. Join us there, and we'll see you tomorrow, everyone. 7 a.m. McCollum on Business.